Okay, so hello YouTube, my name is VladForEvla.com, and today I will be looking at Popcube Air, which is portable Bluetooth speaker. Now, the reason why I'm having this is because, well, the USB fell off, so I need to fix it somehow. Now, I never heard of this brand before, to be honest. Let's take a look at what it actually has. Now, this thing is not working, so I'll need to repair it. Although the battery is still working, it does not charge because there is no USB connector. So let's take a look at the battery. Now I did actually find this battery, and it's actually quite cheap. Now this model BL5C was very familiar to me, and I kind of googled because it said it was for Nokia. So, paper number 2, Nokia. I actually had this mobile phone. This was rubbery, well, rubbery, plasticky, something like that, something in between. So yeah, and now bear in mind that this is a lithium battery, and I believe that the original was metal hybrid. I'm not quite sure whether, I think it was not lithium, so maybe this is just the form factor, but yeah, this thing actually survived as Nokia does. So let's try to turn it on. Okay, it's obviously not a perfect fit, but never mind. Let's take a look at what's inside. This is, I believe, rubbery, and this is something, probably something that holds the base inside. And as you can see, this is this part is actually broken, which is the speaker part. So let's disassemble it, and let's try to repair the USB connector. Now the reason I'm actually repairing this is, well, I usually do not repair such devices, but the guy that brought me this actually has given me quite a few computers to repair, so I should probably repair this thing as well. So yeah, let's unscrew it. No, he did try to repair it on his own, but yeah. Okay. So the plus is down, and okay. This thing is up, so let's desolder it. Plus minus. Let's desolder. This is, I believe, the antenna. This is the Bluetooth antenna. Okay, and this is the speaker connector. It's actually quite hard to solder with the camera in front of you. So, as you can see, this is actually quite screwed up, but I believe that I can actually so yeah, this is the plus. I do not have a connector, so I will be stealing minus from here and plus from here, and I will be making a hole somewhere, let's say like here, and I will be using a jack like this one in order to make this thing work. So yeah, let's repair this thing. Now the first thing I need is this thing. I believe this thing is called optical fiber or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but this is actually a very awesome thing. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it has been cleaned, and I will be soldering some wires, wires such as this one. So I have two wires in here, plus and minus, and I need to strip them and put some solder on it. Okay, so let's try to solder this, and let's see this thing will work or not. Okay, so far so good. So yeah. Okay, so there you have it. This is actually it. I will be putting some hot glue over this thing so that it does not move. And we have an input. So let's test to see whether this thing actually works or not. I believe that the input is 5 volts since it is a USB. Well, since it was a USB. So 5.0 volts. And let's test it to see whether this thing actually recognizes it's connected to the power supply. Now, as you can see, this thing is lit up, so this is actually working. So now this thing, as you can see, is on. Okay, so that's awesome. So the next thing I will be needing is a hot glue gun in order to put some, well, hot glue on it. So let's do that. This is actually way more hot glue than I expected, but well, I suppose it can't hurt much, right? So while this thing is actually getting cold, I will be making a hole, let's say somewhere around here. Yeah, why not? And I will be actually placing this thing. Now this is actually headphones connector, but in my case it will be a power connector. Now there is a good thing and a bad thing about this thing, and the good thing is that this is actually rather well, simple connector and easy to find and to install. The bad thing is that if somebody mixes up these two connectors, yeah, this speaker is probably toasted. But I will be maybe placing a logo of power or something like that in here. I'm not quite sure though, we'll see. Okay, so let's do that. The first thing I need, drill, since I do have this drill bit. So let's make a hole. And as you can see, this would be a very bad idea since the antenna is on this side, but there is nothing on this side. So yeah, now just to see whether it's big enough or not. No, it's not. I might actually need a bigger drill bit. I think that this will actually be perfect. Now, as you can see, this actually looks as the original. Now I will be also placing some well, hot glue in here as well so that it does not move. But first I will be well, soldering my two new wires onto the disconnector. This one, the latter one, will be plus and this one will be minus, because that is just the way it has to be. Okay, this solder is not that professionally made, I would say, but who cares? It will serve the purpose, and that is the only thing that is important. Okay, so after this thing has been well done, I need to place this thing back and place this thing in here. And this is pretty much the easiest way to well, to repair the problem. As you can see, this thing actually looks rather nice. So yeah, now let's place some hot glue in here as well, because hot glue solves everything. And that is pretty much it regarding the hot glue. Now I need to solder everything back in place, which is actually not that big of a deal. So the plus is down, the minus is up, and the last thing I need is to screw this thing in place. And well, to make a cable for this piece as well. But yeah, the antenna has been soldered. Actually, I do need to solder the speaker, but because it has not been soldered, and I will be placing some plastic in here as well. This thing actually does not look like that good quality. I'm not quite sure whether you can see it or not, but there is not even enough of the this rubbery parts. So, and the blue wire is actually plus. That's interesting. I would never guess that for a plus. And these wires are actually way too close together. Okay. So this thing has been soldered and placed back. And I must say this actually looks rather neat. So let's put the battery inside and let's see whether this thing will work or not. It should. Okay. This thing has been repaired. Now bear in mind that I still need to make this cable. Okay, so I've actually found 4 matching screws and I did put them in, and this is probably the final step, and it will look like this. I'm actually quite pleased with this thing. Let's test to see whether this thing will be okay. Now the plus is this wire and the minus is this wire. Well, that's the way it should be anyway. So let me hook up the 5 volts, and yeah, and by the way, I almost connected in here, so that would have sucked, but I will be just a second. So yeah, as you can see, this thing is charging. Awesome. Okay, so the next thing I need is a USB cable, and I actually have it. Not quite sure why. And this brand is actually a piece of shit, probably. So let's make the connector. Okay. Now we only need the black wire and the red wire. These are the power cables, and the rest we do not need. And this is actually quite thin wire, but I think it will be okay. Okay, this is actually quite shitty USB cable, only a couple of wires, but we'll see whether this thing will charge or not, because it does not actually give me well, assurance. So the reason why I actually got this heat shrink, it is because I will be placing it over this thing and while heating it up. And that way this cable won't move, which is what I think I actually need. And let's connect the red wire. And let's solder it. And yeah, there you have it. So yeah, the one more thing I need is actually this insulating tape. So let's insulate the last part. Okay. And there you have it. The cable is ready, and it actually does not, you got to admit, it does not look that bad. So let's test it and let's see whether this thing will charge or not. Let's connect this thing to 1 amp and let's see whether this thing will charge or not. And as you can see, it is charging. So there you have it. This is probably the cheapest way to, well, fix this thing, and it should work, in theory. And for some reason it is quite loud. But there you go, it is working. So that was probably the cheapest repair there is. So yeah. If you have any questions, please ask. I would gladly give you an answer. If you like this video, click thumbs up. If you do not, well, you know what to do. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my other channel and whatnot. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Have a good day. Cheers.